You've talked about betting on yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? And you mentioned in your book the importance of betting on yourself and how you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
When in your life were you able to start betting on yourself? Was it before the military, back in your past life? Was it during? Was it after? When did that come about?
No, I started betting on myself being actually after my divorce. I went through an acrimonious divorce while I was deployed in Iraq, came back home to nothing, found myself in a state where I wanted to commit suicide because I thought I was worth more dead than I was alive. I sat there with a fifth of Palmer Sun in the middle of the floor, a 38 special right there next to me, and thinking I wanted to end it all. I said, after I smoke this cigarette, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to worry about anything else, because it was hard for me to decipher between possibility and probability. You think I just spent 365 days across this water, sacrificing my life for this country. I could have died at any point in time. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You never know the time or the hour. Carpe diem, right? And when you think about those things, man, that you experienced during that time, and you come back home and you walk into this house, this empty house, the car going, your bank account red, everything missing, you know, no family there. It's like, man, what else do I got to lose? What else do I got? You know, I have nothing. So at that time in my life, I noticed, man, that I had beer bottles all over the place, liquor bottles. The house was trash, you know, the house. And when I noticed how my house looked on the inside, it made me know how I felt on the inside. When I seen all those things, man, I was like, man, like I started to think about my child. And I was like, man, if I kill myself, my child will grow up the same way I did. How can I change this perspective? That's when I really put everything in perspective. I felt like God was really talking to me at that time. Like he was telling me, this ain't it, son. This ain't what I put you on this earth for. Now, if you sit here and take your life, this is the end result. The same thing that you experienced when you was growing up is the same thing your son can experience when he growing up. The same thing that you went through, the past, the lifestyle, all these things, your son can experience that same thing. Do you want that? And when he gave me that ultimatum and he said, like, you can make this choice because I give you free will to do whatever you choose to do. But at the same time, do you want this? Do you really want this for your son? And I was like, no, I don't. And that's when everything started to change. You know, I immediately went to cleaning up the house. You know, I immediately went to cleaning up.
After that moment, you started cleaning
right,
the house.
right there and then there in that moment. I looked at everything.
Why did you do that? Why did you clean the house first?
Because like I said, man, I felt as though, you know, the way it looked on the inside of my house is the way I felt on the inside of my life.
Wow. What did you do after that? So you started cleaning the house, and what did the bounce back from that? Because that was quite possibly one of the most powerful moments of your entire life. It was the moment that defined the rest of your life.
Right, absolutely.
Right? So you started to focus on what you can control, right? You started to focus on cleaning the house.
Right.
It was an immediate thing you could do. It's kind of like, it reminds me, and the reason I ask is it reminds me of the whole that Marine who talks about making your bed first thing when you get up. Because no matter what, you know that's one thing that you can control. It's a way to tidy your home first, and it sets you off for a great start. So you started this next chapter of your life by cleaning the house. And then what did the bounce back look like from that point on?
So the bounce back from that point on, man, I had a friend of mine. He noticed a lot of things that I was experiencing. He noticed the weight loss. He noticed, you know, the missing formations, not showing up on time, and just going in that path. He invited me to church. He said, hey, man, why don't you come to church with me, man? Like, I think it'll be a real good experience for you. And, you know, me, I wasn't raised in the church. I didn't grow up around pastors, preachers, and all these things, man. And for me, I was like, yeah, I'll show up. You know, what I got to lose? You know, after that moment, dealing with, you know, that conversation with God, what can I lose, man? I think I owe this to him at this point in time. So, of course, I go over there to the church. And when they do altar call, and they're asking for prayer, I go down there, and the pastor put his hands on me. He prayed for me, and he said, where you see yourself today is not where you'll see yourself a year from now. I promise you that, you know. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. You know, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm going along with the program or whatever it might be, showing face. And then after that, man, it really resonated with me so much to the point that I really took the opportunity to figure out, what else can I do, man? I was like, man, I got to get out of this rut. So I started, you know, I wrote down everything that I could and couldn't control. That's what I did. I wrote down everything that I was dealing with, all the hardships, all the financial struggles, the divorce, my mental stability. I wrote down all these things. And then I just started crossing out everything that I couldn't control. I crossed out, the fact that I couldn't bring my wife back, you know what I'm saying? Because she's her own person. She make her own choices. She make her own decisions. I could not, sit there and recapture the moments that I had with her. I couldn't sit there and sit and say, hey, let's be a family, let's be one again. That was a choice that she chose to make. I couldn't sit there and focus on those areas. So the only thing that I realized that I could focus on was me. And when I focused when I realized the only person that I could control is me. I couldn't control that I went to combat. I couldn't control that I had went through a divorce. I couldn't control, my financial situation at that moment in time. But I could bounce back in dealing with all those things, man, by investing in myself. And that's what I started doing. I started working out more, to build up that, my body, because you look good, you feel good. And so when I started working out, I started to, realize that I started to have a little more sense of confidence. Not only that, I started going to church more. I invested in my spirituality. After that, I went to behavioral health because a lot of people frowned on it. Some leaders frowned on it in the military, not all of them, but they thought it was an excuse for you to get out of work. But in all actuality, I needed it.
What was it called? Behavior health?
Yeah, behavioral health is, where you go speak to a therapist with your mental health.
That's a shame that was looked at as taboo, and it still is to this day. The idea of talking to somebody to work through your challenges, it's more accepted now, much more now than I'm sure it was when you were going. But how did you okay, so when your friends are like, Sylvester, why are you talking to someone? You don't need to talk to somebody. You look great. You're going to church. Like, what do you want to talk about? Like, how did you just allow that to go over your head, or did it not go over your head?
It did not go over my head, man. It stuck with me, man. Honestly, because for a moment I avoided it because it was looked at as a sign of weakness. Honestly, it was. It was going to mental health mean like you're not physically fit, mentally fit in the military, man. This is how some leaders looked at it. I'm not saying all, some did. And the ones that did told you to avoid going to seeing the doctor, told you to avoid going to behavioral health in order to get that treatment that you need, because they just frowned upon it, man. It was frowned upon. I can't sit here and explain why, but overall, when it came down to my circumstance at that time, that's what happened to me. My leaders were saying like, hey, you don't need to go to behavioral health. You good. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Just like you said, like, hey, you in physical shape. You out here leading the troops. You're doing all this. You're doing all that. What you need to go to behavioral health for? Because I'm messed up in the head. Because I'm wearing a mask. I'm wearing a mask. I'm wearing more makeup than a clown right now.